السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. أهلا بكم من جديد على بث مباشر في قناتنا قناة الأساتذة الجزائريين. إذا كما سبق وأن شاركت يعني رابط البث على مجموعتنا في الفيسبوك. The lesson of today is going to be about how to teach a perfect, I mean it, I said a perfect reading lesson. Just wait a minute, I'm going to fix the problem of lights. I think that there is a problem with light in my camera. I'm trying to fix it. I hope now it's okay. So I said the lesson is about how to teach a perfect reading lesson, and most of, let's say, not all of the teachers, but most of the teachers have got problems with the receptive skills. With I mean the receptive and productive, but sometimes to deal with receptive skills, here I'm talking about listening and reading. Sometimes the pupils do not concentrate, do not focus, do not give an ear for you. So today, because there are a lot of students, I mean those who are studying at the high or superior schools of teachers, they asked me, sir, how can we how can we teach reading? How can we teach listening? So, and even some new teachers, novice teachers, asked me to present about how to teach a perfect reading lesson. So, not to make it so long, I will start with how to teach perfect or how to teach reading. Now, there are many, not many steps, but there are 3 steps that we know as teachers when we want to prepare any lesson. We've got pre, we've got during or while, and we've got post. But for today, I've got 6 steps that you need to follow when you prepare your lesson or when you want to present your lesson, especially reading lesson. Now, before we start with the steps or how to deal or what to do in these steps, let's give an introduction about reading and about the essential things that we need when we want to present a reading lesson. Now, while students certainly need to practice reading material in English, it is important that you include short. You don't go just directly in your lesson, but you try to interact with your pupils. Okay, so you need to include a short speaking, listening, and writing activities whenever possible. Okay, I mean in your reading lesson. Now, the focus of the lesson may be on reading a particular passage, but having a diverse lesson plan will enable students who are good at other aspects of English to still participate and feel confident in their abilities while working to improve an area they are weaker at. This is just an introduction about reading lessons. Now we come to the steps and what you should do when you want to present or when you want to prepare a reading lesson. First of all, we've got the warm up or warming up or what we call the ice break. Okay, so concerning the warm up, since students will mostly be sitting at their desks during a reading lesson, you as a teacher, what you need to do, use 5 to 10 minutes warm up period. Okay, the warm up shouldn't be more than 10 minutes. Okay, from 5 uh, to 10 minutes. I'm sorry because I'm so tired for today. So I said you use from 5 to 10 minutes as a warm up period. Okay, to get your students moving and speaking. Okay, to get your students moving and speaking. Also, you are going to want to endure to generate some interest in your reading topic, so that the warm up activity flows into your introduction of the material. And one way to do this is to have students stand in a circle, and ask them to tell you what they know about a certain topic. This can be simple as giving you some related vocabulary, for example. Now, after a student has given you a word or a phrase, you can write it on the board, and he can call, I mean the student, he can call on another student to go next. Okay, since they are sitting in a circle. Now, if appropriate, you can bring a ball to class. I mean a ball with you. You can bring it with you to class, and ask student to gently toss it to the next person. For example, when one of your pupils pass and he gives the answer, or sorry, when he gives the answer or gives the answer, when he finish, he give the ball to the other one, okay, or toss the ball to the other pupil or to the other learner. This is good because it's actually gives students something to focus on other than the words being written on the board, which you will be able to review later. So this is concerning the warm up and what to do in the warm up when you want to prepare or you present your reading lesson plan, okay, or your reading lesson. Now, another thing, or the next step or the next phase, which is, let's say we were used to use the word pre. Okay, we have got warm up, pre, during, or while, and we've got the last one, which is post. But in my case, I'm going to change the words, okay, or I'm going to change the concepts, okay. I said the first step, it was warm up. Now the second one, it's not pre, but I will use my concepts or what I've seen in let's say in European schools, or what I've seen in some websites. They don't use the word pre or post, or they use the word warm up, okay. But the other words, for example, here I've got introduce, okay. I'm not going to use pre, I'm going to use introduce, okay, or introduction. So your introduction, which is pre-listening or pre-reading, may have been made quite easy by the warm-up activity, okay. Your introduction, I said, may have made quite easy by the warm-up activity. Now, while students are seated, ask them to use some of the vocabulary they came up with within a sentence, okay, and add any K vocabulary or any key vocabulary to the list. I repeat, your introduction may have been made quite easy by the warm-up activity. What does it mean? Your introduction, it will be as simple as, because you give you give your pupil a hint in the warm-up to your lesson. Okay, so the warm-up, it will make the lesson easy and give your pupils or your learners the ability to predict or to expect what's going on or what will happen or what they are going to see in this lesson. Okay, so I said, while your students are seated, ask them to use some of the vocabulary they came up with in a sentence and add any key vocabulary or any key vocabulary to the list. Now you can, when you finish that or when you do that, you can distribute the reading passage or the reading passages or the reading passage, and ask your students to read it silently, not read it loudly. Okay, read it silently to become acquainted within the new material. And this is concerning introduction. Okay, I always ask you, if there is any question or there is any command, just write it and I will be grateful to answer your questions. Okay, so let's carry on. Now the next phase or the next step, it is practice. Okay, it is practice. Now is the important phase, or let's say the important things start here in this phase, practice. Now here you can check your pupils level, and you check whether they are concentrating, whether they grasped what they have seen in the warm-up and introduction. Okay, now practice. What can you do as activities, or what can you do in this phase? Okay, now practice reading the material aloud. I said practice reading aloud. Okay, I mean they are going to read aloud. They are going to you ask your pupil to read. Okay, and here you can check their reading, you can check their pronunciation, you can check many things. So what you can do, I mean, how can you do this practice, or how can you practice reading the material? You can do this through a series of steps. The first step, have students do some slash. Here maybe you didn't understand me, or you cannot understand me. I'm going to explain it, or I'm going to make it simple. Okay, for example, you ask your student to cut or to use slashes. Okay, when they are reading, they don't read everything. Okay, now for example, they start from this word, for example, from the first word to the third word, then slash, then fourth word, fifth word, sixth word, then slash. Okay, I'm going to explain it more better in this lesson. Okay, so I said you should or you have your student to do some slashes or some slash reading. You should read the passage aloud. Okay, you read the passage aloud, pausing where appropriate. You as a teacher, you read aloudly. Okay, but using some pauses. Okay, you pause or you stop whenever it is appropriate. Okay. Also, have students repeat each section after you. When you read, when you finish, you ask your students to read after you, to read or to repeat after you. Okay, it's like somehow like listening, okay, but in this case they are going to read after you, okay. So I said, have students repeat each section after you and place slashes in their text, okay. Now I'm going to give you a sample now to understand me. Now for example, it's look like this one, okay. Look, for example, for Christmas Day, for example, otherwise we are Muslims, okay, I'm not going to use the word Christmas, okay. For example, for the Mawlid Nabawi Sharif, for example, uh, we celebrate with each others, okay. So you give them a sentence like this. You give your pupils a sentence like this. For Al Mawlid Nabawi Sharif dinner, I at for example couscous. Then a slash, for example, shorba slash, and for example in beans slash, and so on, okay. With this way, then you ask your pupils to do the same as you have done, okay. So this will help your students read more naturally, okay. Will help your students to read more naturally. Now when you finish with that, you can have students read the passage by repeating sentences, not words. They are going to read sentences, because as you have seen, sometimes when you ask a pupil or a learner to read in English, they sometimes even cannot read a small word. So this is a real problem. This in order to avoid that problem or to deal with that problem, let's try this way that I give you, the way of using slashes to help your students come up with or to come up with this problem of because they are not able to read, okay. So I repeat, when you finish that, you can have your student to read the passage by repeating sentences after you, and then call on students to read one sentence at a time. I mean, you give them a chance to read a sentence directly, quickly, okay. Now if students struggle with the pronunciation of certain words, so you can take this opportunity to practice pronunciation or pronouncing them too, okay. Now here you are going to, I mean, when you do this way or when you use this way, so you can teach them how to read, and you can check their pronunciation, and at the same time you can correct the way of pronunciation, and this will be good for you and good for your pupils, okay. So when you finish that, you may wish to have students read the passage again silently to focus on its meaning before moving on. Now, when you finish reading the passage, when you finish reading sentences, I'm speaking about your pupils, when they finish reading the passage and they finish reading the sentences, etc. So you may, as a teacher, wish to have them, I mean your students, read the passage again silently to focus now on the meaning, okay, on the meaning of this text. So this is concerning practice. I hope it wasn't so long, but I want to explain, I want to go deeper with you to understand how to deal with that problem, okay. Now we come to another phase or another step, which is practice more. practice more. We've got practice, and now we have got practice more. Now, with reading lessons, it is important to ensure that your students understand the material as well as any new words. Also, why that? In order to check their vocabulary, you can ask your students to match synonyms, antonyms, or pictures, and this way, or these activities are useful. And I guess that most of the teachers use these activities, synonyms. Ask your pupils to give you synonyms or antonyms, or you give them a picture, then you ask them to match, okay? Or sometimes you can ask them to fill in the gap, okay? And this is another way to check the overall comprehension or their comprehension. Now, when you finish with that, you can start with some true or false. When you finish, I mean, when you give them an activity, give the synonym, give the antonym, or match the following pictures with the right words, or fill in the gap. You can give them another activity like true or false, okay, or MCQs, okay, multiple choice, okay. Now, using that, if you use that, be sure to ask your students why a particular statement is true or false, okay. Now, when they answer you it's true or it's false or it's not mentioned, okay, you don't accept the answer just like this. No, you ask them why this is true, why this is false, okay, in order to check their comprehension, okay. And you check whether they are confident or they just take the answer from their friends, okay. Okay, you can also have fill in the blank sentence, as I said before, or basic comprehension question in this section of practice more, okay. Now let's come to the last, but not the last one, it is before the last one, which is the production, I mean. Okay, you gave them a warming up, introduction, practice more, then production. Now, in production, what do? You prepare some discussion questions, okay? You give them some questions to discuss. And these questions are related to the reading, and some that require students to use key phrases in their answers, okay? The question should be related to the text, of course. You cannot give them questions which are not related to the text, okay? Now, and because we are teaching not one level, we are teaching 4 levels. We've got first year, second year, and third year, and fourth year, sorry. Now, for first year and second year, let's call them beginners, okay? For beginners, discussion will be quite challenging, but intermediate and advanced students will gain a lot from discussing, okay. I mean, the advanced or the intermediate students will gain a lot from discussing their thoughts and opinions in smaller classes, because in our case it's problem, okay. We cannot call it small class. It's not, you find 2 classes in 1 class, okay. So I insist in smaller classes, and here let's say I'm insisting on the TD session. You can use this within the TD's sessions, okay. So in smaller classes there will be more opportunities for students to share their viewpoints, while with larger classes you may simply have to ask who agrees or disagrees with a particular statement, and then call on 3 or 4 students to express their opinions. That's all concerning the produce or production phase or production step. Now, the last step, it is review. I call it a review. In this step, you can ask students to summarize the reading or what they learned in class. If you have not already done so, you can have students search for the topic sentence, or discuss why students choose certain sentences, whether they choose correctly or not. This is what you can do in this step. No more summarizing, or ask the students to the topic sentences, give you a general idea about the text, summarize the meaning of the text. And this step, it depends on the type of the text, whether it is argumentative or narrative or descriptive. Okay, so we are going to prepare the activities in this step or in this phase according to the type of the text. Now, what I want to say in the last, or my last words, reading is a key part of learning. Okay, learning English or other languages. Okay, and this lesson, I mean, the lesson that I gave you, is not a let's say, I'm not a someone who is expert, but I give you an opportunity to introduce some topics to help you. Also, this lesson give you an excellent opportunity to introduce topics of your own. So be careful when selecting an article. Also, it is important that your students are interested in the material. Okay, they will be more active in the discussion if they feel strongly about a particular topic. So if your topic is interesting, and if your topic did motivate the pupils, and your topic is simple, so be sure that your pupil will understand it, and they will be more motivated and will be more active. So be careful when you choose an article, or when you choose a text. And sometimes there are some teachers ask me about the use of the book. Sometimes there are some texts even our pupils cannot understand what there is in this text, or what there is in the book. So you can change the text. Okay, you are not a slave to your book or to that school book. Okay, you can change or you can change it, you can write even your own text. Why not? So this was my or were my last words. Thank you for watching my video. Thank you for watching this session. I hope you've got some ideas, or some ideas about how to teach reading. Please, I'm not going to order you to subscribe in this channel, but it would be pleasure, and I would appreciate that, to subscribe in this channel, and to share, and don't forget to make a like for this video if you like it. Also, to share it with your friends. Thanks. This what I can say. See you in another lesson. My best wishes for you, my dear teachers.